So this is the 77th anniversary. I will say we have distinguished guests who will speak. The devastation was horrendous. The effects of the nuclear bombs that we dropped on innocent civilians, men, women, and children, was suppressed for many, many decades.
This is a translation of the Peace Declaration read today by the Nagasaki mayor Tomihisa Tao at a ceremony to mark the 77th anniversary of the atomic bombing of the city. The first time that the World Conference Against A and H Bombs, which aims for the abolition of nuclear weapons, was held here in Nagasaki was in 1956, 11 years after the atomic bomb that caused the death and injury of 150,000 people. Once Chieko Watanabe, one of the hibakusha, one of the survivors, entered the venue, there was an instant shower of camera flashes. This was because Ms. Watanabe was being carried in the arms of her mother when she arrived. She was exposed to the atomic bombing at a factory where she had been working as a 16-year-old student and became paralyzed from the waist down after being crushed under collapsed metal beams. Upon her arrival, voices from those assembled could be heard saying, "Stop photographing her. She's not some kind of showpiece." And the venue fell into a state of commotion. Having reached the speaker's podium, Ms. Watanabe said in a clear voice, "People of the world, please take photographs, and then ensure that nobody like me is ever made again." Leaders of the nuclear states, can you hear the cry of her soul within these words? A cry demanding with all her heart and soul that no matter what, nuclear weapons must not be used.
Similar meetings and protests are taking place throughout the world. 77 years ago, the U.S. bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, using those two cities and the civilians that inhabit them as part of their experiment with nuclear bombs.
Thank you, Jim. I want to start by saying thank you all. We've done this, we've been here since I've been mayor every year. Henry, Millie, Fred, Paula, Frank, Steven, so many of us have gathered together, whether it's on the green, and there was another ceremony marking the commemoration and outrage that we feel about the dropping of the bomb on Hiroshima 3 days ago, and now we're here today reflecting on Nagasaki. And I also wanted to thank two very important leaders in the movement towards peace. And first, that is Al Marder, who has for decades and decades been a voice, New Haven's conscience, speaking out, advocating for peace, and advocating for a world that is free of nuclear weapons. And the second person is Mayor Harp, who has continued to participate in these events and has been a very, very strong advocate for peace as well. And has played, I think, quite a strong role in acknowledging the history of the work that you all have done and Al Marder has done, the impact that you've had on New Haven and nationally to advocate for peace. You know, I'm speaking as your mayor, but my heart's speaking as a father. Natalie and I have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old. And if you're like me, you're deeply concerned and frightened about the state of the world today. Countless examples, nearly daily, exist that remind us just how fragile our democracy is, just how fragile our environment is, how fragile our humanity is. And people around the world, parents around the world, love their children like Natalie and I love our children, like many of us here who have children love our children. And it renews my commitment every time I see them to work hard to ensure that we do have a world of peace. And the most symbolic moment and activist moment is this morning. I see the stickers on many of us here who went and voted this morning. We have a ritual with my family where on election day, Natalie and my daughters and I in the morning walk over and vote at the polls. And we want to instill in them very, very young the importance of advocating, pushing our political leaders to do more, to invest in our community in real and deep ways, to invest more in social services and the needs that actually exist in our community and less in weapons, to walk towards a world where we no longer have to fear for our future. And when I see what's going on around our nation with so many people working to undermine the democratic institutions that have so many people have worked towards, it makes it ever more important that we continue to work as a community to push back on falsehoods, to support our democracy, and to strive towards a world where we support and invest in our communities. And your inspiration here today and your continued commitment to that continues to inspire me and my family to renew our commitment every day as well. So thank you for everything that you do. We appreciate it, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. It really is an honor and a privilege to be here this afternoon with all of you once again. When I think about the work that he with all of you have done for this community, I'm in awe. It really is what a nation of people who actually come together and develop their communities is about. It's about the work that you do. You know, what occurs to me is there were many that were killed on those days, and if you think about it, that's more than the population of New Haven, West Haven, and perhaps even Hamden combined, all killed on those 2 days. But those aren't the only people that were killed. We all know that radiation killed even more people, maimed people. We heard about them from the mayor of Nagasaki today. And we also know that it remains a threat. I always said that for humanity, the highest ideal is love. So it's very important that you do this work, that you don't get discouraged, that you recognize that it's because of your fight and your connections to those who fight for peace around the world.
We have to connect the violence between the way we live every day and nuclear weapons.
So my name is Paul Bloom. I am the abbot of the New Haven Zen Center. I'll say more about that later. It is necessary to see history for what it is and to see history without painting it to fit our liking. That is, we must start to see the truth of history if we are ever going to recover from the massive global fear that confronts us and the possibility of a Hiroshima and Nagasaki on steroids. Thank you.
Thank you. We're all here for the same reason today, because we're shocked by the inhumanity of what happened in 1945 in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And so when I think of these events, I think about man's inhumanity to man.
And a beautiful song that she wrote. And may I introduce Millie? Let's give it up for her.
Thank you, Jim. And I'm going to begin with the song I didn't write. I'll do that one later. This song I learned 50 years ago when I was in Spain. I was studying guitar and I swapped lullabies with two young Japanese boys. I taught them Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, and they taught me this lullaby. So as I sing this, I'm imagining a mother or father singing this lullaby to their child the night before the bomb went off. Hitore de neru tokinyayo Tenjo no noise sumiga Uta te kure rudaro Iso inu taeo Iso yoni taeo So this we want our green to go. Where do we want our green to go? How do we want our taxes spent? How do we want our taxes spent? New Haven made a choice. We used our city's voice to tell our reps how to act. Our Congress has been willing to subsidize the killing of millions, and that's a fact too. Now hit it, gang. Where do we want our green to go? Where do we want our green to go? How do we want our taxes spent? How do we want our taxes spent? Does it make any sense to spend our bucks on defense when we can't pay for food? It takes a lot of green to build a submarine. Does another one do any good? It takes millions. Where do we want our green to go? Where do we want our green to go? How do we want our taxes spent? How do we want our taxes spent? So move our jobs to green and get our whole world clean. It makes our souls sure feel lighter. So, engineers, be smart. Transform Connecticut's heart. Make our infrastructure tighter. Oh, where do we want our green to go? Where do we want our green to go? How do we want our taxes spent? How do we want our taxes spent? In this next part, listen to your heart and decide. Would you rather pollute our skyways or repair our highways? Repair our highways. Inflict PTSD or relieve misery? Relieve misery. Destroy an Afghan bridge or have money for a fridge? Money for a fridge. Drone a neighborhood or have a job that feels good. Have a job that feels good. Listen to our heart. Listen to our heart. And let's all do our part. Let's all do our part and bring our green back home. Yes, bring our green back home. Last time, yeah. Bring our green back home. Lament for the dead 10,000s. The major who led the first atomic attack, under examination by psychiatrists, told reporters, "I do feel I killed those people at Hiroshima." We saw it in Technicolor. You may not, but must believe from the documentary shots that day was black and white as the black deed and the white dying.